you met Dr. Steven Greer.
Yeah.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the goddamn internet. And today we're going to be talking about Steven Greer actually did not lie when he said he knew Jake Barber, and they have met and they have spoken to each other. They are mutual connections, right? So we're going to be looking deep into that. So all the best parts at the end, as always. So make sure you stay till the end. Subscribe, notifications on, because we're covering everything that comes out as it comes out. And we're building the motherfucking coolest community that's commentary right now. And yeah, share. That helps the absolute most. And without further ado, let's fucking watch this shit, yeah?
Welcome to episode 2 of the Dr. Steven Greer podcast. My name is Michael Mazzola. I'm a filmmaker who has collaborated many times with Dr. Greer, and I'll be asking a few questions. Dr. Greer, why don't we kick off with the big news that is breaking right now?
Sure, and thanks, Michael. I've spoken for some time about a group of people who have worked at black sites out west in sensitive operations, where I have visited those sites. The leader of that team has come forward. He had a little cameo on News Nation yesterday. That would be Wednesday. That was talking about his involvement with the crash retrieval operations and what have you. There will be more that will be coming out Saturday on that same show with Ross.
So tell me about the moment when you realized that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien tech.
So it became very clear the first time our communication process and procedure was modified. And then just visually looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
What people need to understand is that this has evolved a lot in the last 2 months. As of this past summer, that individual, Jake Barber, and his team, as well as people from other sites who are working with him, we're going to just collect a lot of the evidence of the crashes, the bodies, the retrievals, the man-made craft, hand them over, and we'd put it out publicly. Then they decided to do it through some government process with an office called DOPSR, which clears things that are going to be written and released at the Pentagon, DOPSR. You can look it up. Another one of those alphabet soup acronyms in the government, which are endless.
Okay, so he's mentioning DOPSR, and that is something that David Grush has mentioned, Lou Elizondo, everybody that's like an asset of the CIA, three-letter agencies has to approve. I think ex-workers that used to work for these three-letter agencies, it counts too, but they gotta, everything they say that could compromise national security, they gotta run through DOPSR, and they choose what's being allowed to say. So they completely control the narrative this way by controlling what all their ants say, right? Quote unquote ants. Yeah. Let me know what you think about this.
But those are the ones who review something you're going to print or release that's of a top secret nature. And then also they decided to unmask themselves. I've talked about this in the last month or two, that this was a very big development, a very good development, that instead of it being an anonymous drop of information and intelligence and images without provenance, because this happens all the time in my situation. Someone wants to remain anonymous, they give me information, but I can't point to where it came from. Which, of course, people then say, well, maybe Dr. Greer got that from some unreliable source, or it's not legitimate. So in this case, their bona fides are extremely high. They're going to be established in terms of their long-term involvement with these operations, decades. And the other part of it that's very exciting is that because they're naming themselves, they're adding the credibility of having been there and are currently boots on the ground at these facilities, right? It's not like they were there in the 60s or 80s or something. These are current operations. from firsthand people who are operational there, who have been special forces, and and embedded with corporate activities at the Lockheed Skunk Works and Northrop Grumman and what have you. That's really quite a major development. Now, the evidence that exists is way vaster than what you're going to see Saturday. It's going to come out in parts over the next couple of months. And a lot of this is strategic on their part to see how does the public handle it, what does the media do with it, and more importantly, what pushback and dangers are there coming back to them from rogue elements of government programs, whether it be law enforcement or other activities.
So Steven Greer's whole take and story on the whole thing, his version of how everything is, he says we have reverse engineered UAP and we have our own versions of them, right? And he says he's been connected to the deep state and all their operations. They have their own military, they have their own technology to protect themselves from the public. So I don't know how deep you'd want to go into Greer's reality, right? But there's quite the rabbit hole.
In the course of your high-value target investigation, you met Dr. Steven Greer.
Yeah, I did.
What was the purpose of meeting Dr. Steven Greer?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, you can say what you want about Dr. Greer, but the guy's been 30 years ahead of everyone else on a lot of the details of this subject.
And this is coming straight from Jake Barber's mouth, guys. Steven Greer was not lying about him knowing this guy, as a lot of people suspected. And he just confirmed it, right? So this is pretty significant, gives a lot of credibility to Greer, whether it's good or bad. But if he's 30 years ahead, holy shit, what else is he not lying about, right?
So a lot of what he says is correct.
To me, he's like the Bentwaters. Like, we had everything we needed in 1980, and now we're fishing around for morsels of that. This guy, he's been ahead of everyone. And what I find quite funny is the one thing he gets the most shit for is the one thing he's probably most right about, and that is his CE5 protocol.
So CE5 is when he uses meditation and he claims it engages telepathically with the phenomenon.
Yeah, that's his term for it. Like, we don't use CE5. We don't use Dr. Greer's protocol, nor do other people in the program or subsequent programs.
So CE5 is real?
Yeah, if we're going to use his term. I'll tell you what is real is the ability to go into something like a meditative state and summon UAP and pilot UAP. That is real. That's 100% real.
Wow. I have to process that for a moment, because that is just the most extraordinary claim.
Yeah. Well, we hope to prove it soon.
On what basis did you approach Dr. Greer?
My understanding was that whoever was in illegal possession of these HVTs may have the intention to expose that sensitive material as a whistleblower.
You were concerned he might take it to Dr. Greer?
Yeah, I was still working in my official capacity of protecting the sensitive data that was on these HVTs. That was my job at the time. So Dr. Greer was scheduling a whistleblower conference in DC and was holding a large event at the press club in Washington, DC. And so we reached out to him. One of my teammates made a bump with him in the Virginia area and shared with him some information to pique his curiosity and to also bona fide ourselves as someone he should maybe consider listening to. And we set up a meeting, and I explained to him up front what our intentions were, that we believed that there were whistleblowers that might come forward with something that is sensitive and it may not be appropriate to disclose. And I asked to be put in a position of authority with him where I could vet his whistleblowers. So we offered our service to help vet whistleblowers at the time, thinking our guys, whoever had these HVTs, might show up with the contents. Nope, they never did. But it was on this trip that what was interesting at the time is we were contemplating our own whistleblower path forward.
Because of what had happened.
Because of what had happened. It was happening at this time. And so what surprised me is during this event, a young Marine named Michael Herrera came forward with a very particular story and spoke of a particular operation that we were aware was taking place, or operations like it, let's say, were going on. And I saw this young guy get up there, and it just spoke to me. Call it my intuition that was blessed. I was blessed with that night. I made contact with non-human intelligence for the first time, but my intuition was on high alert that night. And when he spoke, I knew what he was saying was true, and no one else was believing him. And he was wrong about a few key things that he was speculating on. And so I made the decision after he spoke to go to Dr. Greer and ask to speak with him privately.
Alright, holy motherfucking shit, guys. This guy, he's just giving so much credibility to Greer. I mean, CE5 and this egg and the Star Watches, yeah, it's all coming together. It's like the same protocol, just different. Steven Greer's been ahead of the public by 30 years, so Jake Barber was correcting Greer at that point on some mistakes, and it seems, I don't know if everything is 100% true and valid, etc., but it's seemingly like Jake Barber is ahead of Greer then. So then there's not this deep state that's using the man-made UFO, right? I don't even fucking know. Like, what does this mean? Let me know what you think.